Rain fell in sheets across the ridges of the Rhodope Mountains, washing blood and gunpowder from the soil. Smoke curled from a wrecked convoy at the base of the valley, horses screaming, men shouting in half a dozen Balkan dialects. Somewhere beyond the carnage, a faint vibration echoed like distant thunder. But it wasn't thunder. It was a chronon pulse. Lieutenant Arya Vasilev crouched behind a scorched boulder, her breathing measured, her uniform smeared with blood that wasn't hers. A century ahead of this moment, humanity had mastered time anchoring. She was among the few, temporal integrity officers, sent to pivotal historical junctions. Her orders were strict: observe, contain fractures, never intervene unless humanity's evolutionary timeline was at risk. This war, the Second Balkan War, wasn't supposed to spiral into global catastrophe, but projections had shifted. Someone was tampering. Her mission, once passive, was now hot. A coded pulse clicked in her neural implant. "Chrono anomaly localized," said the voice in her head, neutral, synthetic. "Category 3 instability, probability divergence, 26%, 26%. That was dangerously high. Arya activated her ocular interface. The landscape flickered momentarily. Time scars glimmered faintly across the battlefield, like rips in celluloid film. Through one rupture, she glimpsed a formation of soldiers in gear too advanced for 1913. Shoulder-mounted emitters, reflective armor, guided plasma flechettes. Rogue tech had been deployed. She gritted her teeth. The directive was clear: locate the anomaly source, neutralize interference, restore event continuity. She crept downhill, past the ruined carriage, and the corpses sprawled like broken marionettes. Her breath caught when she spotted a survivor, a young Bulgarian private no older than 18, bleeding from a gash in his thigh, his eyes locked with hers. "Medic?" he croaked. "Against protocol," she responded. "Yes." She knelt, pressed a bandage from her field kit over his wound. The boy blinked at the material, too advanced, self-sealing. Recognition dawned in his gaze, and confusion followed. "You're not from here," he whispered. Before she could answer, distant gunfire cracked, then stopped. Silence fell unnaturally fast, as if time itself had taken a breath. Arya looked skyward. Clouds shimmered unnaturally, folding in on themselves. A ripple passed overhead like a pebble in water. She turned her interface to full spectrum. The fracture was widening. An encrypted ping hit her inner cortex. Unregistered tech signature, human origin. Unauthorized. Coordinates, Vardar Front. The rogue faction again. They had moved further west, likely toward the Macedonian theater. Arya swore under her breath. She thought she had closed their access gate near Adrianople, but apparently they had redundancy protocols. HFY zealots, extremists who believed humanity should skip its barbaric phase and accelerate toward planetary unification through controlled interventions. She left the boy with an adrenaline dose and moved. 2 clicks west, camouflaged in a wrecked church bell tower, she activated her relay drone. It shimmered into semi-visibility, triangular, rotating silently above the rubble. "Give me Cassian," she said. The drone processed the command. Moments later, a face formed in her lens. Cassian Merrick, once a respected Chronon engineer, now the architect of timeline disruption. "Arya," he said with maddening calm, "I wondered when you'd catch up. You've already breached Directive Code 12. You activated Chronon influence on a live battlefield." Cassian chuckled. "Because they deserve better. You've seen this war, brothers turning rifles on each other for half a mountain. Macedonia carved like meat. If a calculated nudge saves millions, why resist?" She clenched her jaw. "It's not your call. It's ours, HFY's call. The Balkan unification is the missing keystone. Push them forward now, and we avoid 2 world wars, Cold War stalemates, nuclear brinksmanship. We get to the stars faster." She didn't answer. A part of her had once believed that. But choice, not control, defined humanity. Cassian's face vanished. The signal cut. The drone went dead. Arya exhaled slowly. She knew now. The rogue core had been reactivated. Somewhere in the Macedonian front, Cassian was using a device capable of rewriting collective memory across the Balkan region. It wouldn't just alter borders, it could fabricate identities, rewire loyalties, erase resistance. She descended from the tower, sliding down into the mud. A column of Serbian troops marched past her, unaware they were shadows in a potentially rewritten future. Among them, she recognized a face from her mission dossier, Commander Luka Petrovich, a key figure. In the original timeline, Luka refused to massacre a retreating Bulgarian column, preventing a regional genocide. If Cassian got to him first, that restraint might vanish. She shadowed the unit until they set camp near the river. Disguised as a nurse, she was waved through. Nobody questioned women in the medical corps. Not here, not yet. Night fell. Fires burned low. Arya approached Luka's tent, her heart hammering. She needed to understand if the timeline had bent already, if he had been rewritten. But when she entered, Luka stood alone, reviewing a map by lamplight. He looked up sharply, but didn't reach for a weapon. "You're not part of my corps," he said evenly. "No," she replied. "Are you with Cassian?" She froze. His eyes narrowed. "I know things. I remember fragments. Too many dreams that don't belong to me. I've seen battles I never fought, and a woman with fire in her eyes." Arya stepped forward. "Then you haven't been rewritten yet." He set down the map. "But it's coming, isn't it?" She nodded. "Then what do we do?" She answered him with one word. "Fight." And for the first time since stepping into this broken decade, Arya felt a flicker of hope. Rain gave way to low fog that clung to the forest like old breath. Arya walked beside Luka in silence, their boots muffled in the mossy earth. They moved away from the Serbian encampment toward a ridge that overlooked the Vardar Basin. It was early, yet the air pulsed faintly, an unnatural hum resonating just outside human hearing. Cassian's influence was spreading. Luka paused, glancing toward the valley below. "There was no fog this morning. I remember sun." "Your memory is real," Arya replied. "The fog is an artificial distortion. Temporal warping causes sensory overlap. Cassian's engine is active." He stared at her, uneasy but not disbelieving. "And if he succeeds?" "Then everything changes," she said. "Borders redrawn, motives rewritten. The war ends in days, but the consequences echo for centuries. Worse, no one will know it was altered. It'll become history." Luka looked back at his campfires below. "Why don't you just kill him?" "Because Cassian was once my mentor," she said softly, "and he built the original Chronon stabilizer that lets me stand here without unraveling this timeline. There's still a sliver of him that remembers who we are." "Maybe he remembers and doesn't care." Arya didn't answer. They reached a ridge where the mist thinned just enough to reveal movement. A convoy of men in patched uniforms marched beside machines that did not belong to this century. Bipedal walkers, thin-limbed, quiet, too advanced to register as anything local, stepped carefully around crumbling stone paths. Arya activated her interface. "Tech signature verified, HFY variant Alpha 5, stealth deployment." "Where are they going?" Luka asked. "To intercept your rival commander," she said. "General Dimitrov." Luka's expression darkened. "He's a butcher." "He is," Arya confirmed. "But in the unaltered timeline, he dies in an ambush tomorrow. Cassian intends to save him, alter his decision tree, and keep him alive long enough to turn the tide. With the wrong memory implant, Dimitrov could be convinced he's a visionary unifier." Luka spat into the grass. "And the rest of us? Puppets? Puppets with memories you didn't write." The wind shifted. A low rumble rolled across the valley. Not thunder, but something deeper, synthetic, like the pulse of a massive heart. The time engine was close. Arya handed Luca a small device, flat, metallic, pulsing with a dull green light. Temporal anchor. It'll protect your identity signature. If you're rewritten, this will pull you back. He held it as if it might burn. And what about you? I have one built in, she said with a faint smile. They descended the ridge carefully, weaving through broken tree lines and muddy slopes. As they moved closer, the edges of reality shimmered like heat over stone. Trees blurred slightly, flickering with alternate versions, some blooming, some blackened by fire. A sign they were near a fracture nexus. Arya pulled Luca behind a large root system just as two HFY soldiers passed. Unlike the soldiers of this era, these moved with mechanical precision, their boots quiet, their heads encased in translucent helmets. Luca studied them. They don't look human. They are, Arya whispered, conditioned, indoctrinated. The HFY uses isolation training. They're loyal to a cause, not a country. He looked disgusted. That's not unity, that's slavery. They don't see it that way. They followed the HFY squad until the forest broke open into a clearing. In the center, suspended above an old monastery ruin, was the engine. It looked like a silver prism wrapped in threads of moving light. Surrounding it, a translucent field pulsed with shifting images, alternate futures blinking in and out. Smoke curled around the base. Technicians worked in silence, typing commands into floating consoles. Cassian stood at the center, his coat billowing like a flag. He looked older than Arya remembered, lined with the weight of too many timelines. But his eyes still held that familiar light. Fierce, focused, convinced. Arya raised her disruptor rifle and lined up a shot. She could take it. End this now. Luca laid a hand on her shoulder. Wait, he whispered. He sees us. Cassian turned. His gaze cut through the mist, locking on her like a blade. He made no move to run. Instead, he gestured, beckoning. She exhaled slowly. He wants to talk. This is a trap, Luca said. Of course it is, she answered. But I need to hear what he thinks he's saving. They walked into the clearing together. Technicians parted wordlessly. Cassian descended from the ramp and stopped a few paces away. I expected you sooner, he said. You didn't expect me alone. He glanced at Luca, nodding. You brought a fixed point. Clever. Shut it down, Arya said flatly. I can't. It's already interfacing with the Vardar flow. 10 million minds are aligning to a new shared truth. You're committing temporal genocide. I'm preventing cultural extinction, he shot back. In 2 decades, these nations tear themselves apart again. Then the Ottomans, the Nazis, the Soviets, all ghosts feeding off Balkan blood. We fix it now. At what cost? Free will? You know better than most, Arya. Free will is a myth wrapped in chaos. We're offering a cleaner path, one memory, one future. Behind him, the engine flared brighter. The air vibrated. Luca stepped forward. And what happens to those of us who remember the old path? Cassian looked at him solemnly. You won't. He turned, ready to give the final command. Arya moved faster. In a blur of motion, she fired the disruptor, not at Cassian, but at the stabilizer node at the engine's core. The bolt slammed into it, detonating in a pulse of blue-white light. The engine screamed. Time folded inward. Reality convulsed. Arya felt herself torn from the moment, her vision blinding, her thoughts scattering like broken glass. And then, silence. Everything stopped. Only one thought remained. Was it enough? Arya's eyes snapped open. The sky was unfamiliar, a dusky violet tinged with copper clouds. She lay on cracked earth, her breath shallow, ears ringing. Her internal chronometer blinked erratically, struggling to recalibrate. Something had gone wrong, or too right. A figure stood above her, Luca, older somehow, his uniform cleaner, insignias glinting in the dim light. You're awake, he said with quiet relief. She sat up slowly, pain radiating down her spine. The clearing where Cassian's engine once hovered was gone. In its place was a stone platform etched with words she didn't recognize. How long? 3 days since the detonation, Luca replied. But we're not in the same layer. Cassian's engine didn't destroy the timeline. It merged it. Arya looked around. Soldiers moved methodically at the edge of the field, dressed in uniforms that blended elements of Balkan, Ottoman, and futuristic styles. Some bore flags she didn't recognize. This place, what happened? A unity protocol was triggered, he said. Cassian's final contingency. He created a memory convergence. Everyone believes the war ended in mutual cooperation. They remember the blood, but also the alliance that stopped it. It's become legend. Arya's heart sank. He won. No, Luca said gently. He compromised. You shattered the core, interrupted the absolute rewrite. He couldn't enforce a singular reality, so he spliced consensus instead. We're in a new branch, one no one controls. She stood, swaying slightly. And the HFY soldiers? The machines? Gone. The implant armies dissolved with the stabilizer. Most merged into local militaries with memory reassignments. No one remembers them as foreign. She looked at him sharply. But you remember. He nodded. Because of your anchor. It worked. A silence passed between them, heavy with unspoken losses. Cassian was gone, either consumed by his own engine or hidden within the folds of this recalibrated world. And yet something remained, a scar across time, subtle but powerful. From a nearby path, a youth approached them, a courier by dress, but carrying a device unmistakably alien, a comm slab from the HFY timeline retrofitted with Balkan runes. He saluted Luca. Message from the council, sir. They want the strategist's report. Arya frowned. Strategist? Luca glanced at her, sheepish. That would be me. In this version, I helped negotiate the peace. And me? He hesitated. A foreign advisor, unknown origin, but revered. She stared at the boy's slab, curiosity flaring. Cassian embedded code in the council. He didn't vanish. He became doctrine. Not doctrine, Luca said. Myth. They walked together toward the new capital, Skopje, they called it now. A city that bore the architecture of multiple empires fused into harmony. Byzantine domes beside Ottoman arches, futurist monorails curving around medieval towers. As they passed a school, Arya caught sight of a mural on the wall. It showed 3 figures, one clearly Cassian, painted in ambiguous light, one resembling Luca, clad in battle-worn armor, and one unmistakably her, holding a disruptor and a scroll. History has changed, she murmured. It always was, Luca answered. We just never noticed. Inside the council chambers, leaders debated trade routes and memory protocols. Data from the altered timeline was being archived selectively, choosing which version of events would guide future generations. Arya stood quietly behind a privacy veil, listening. A general rose. We propose phasing out all residual chronon tech. Too unstable. We unify under organic development. Another countered. And what of future threats? Without HFY remnants, we risk falling behind again. A third leaned forward. We must look inward, not outward. Build from harmony, not conquest. Luca stood at last. If we wish to secure our legacy, we must remember the price we paid. Even if no one recalls the battles, we must preserve the wisdom. Arya caught a flicker of movement, someone slipping out the side door. She followed, cautious. In a corridor lit by ambient crystals, a woman waited, tall, cloaked, her face hidden. You remember me, the woman said. Arya tilted her head. Cassian? Number A shadow of his making. He scattered echoes of himself throughout the timeline, mimetic fragments. I'm one. Arya studied her. Then this isn't over. The woman smiled faintly. It never is. But the engine is gone. No more resets, no more rewrites, only echoes. You succeeded. What happens now? You live, the echo said. That's the only real rebellion. The woman vanished like smoke. Arya returned to Luca, her mind a whirl. In the garden outside the chamber, people gathered to celebrate a new national holiday. Peace Day, they called it. Children played with wooden versions of Cassian's machines. Elders told stories of the three architects. History, rewritten by belief, not force. Luca handed her a glass. To timelines unbroken. She clinked it gently. To memory. As night fell, stars shimmered above a world stitched together by compromise, myth, and choice. Arya looked skyward and wondered how many other versions of herself were watching other skies, remembering other wars. But here, for now, there was peace, and that was enough.